So welcome back to Seat at My Table. Today I'm joined by Samantha Toms, aka Mantha. So Sammy, as I know her, is an R&B singer-songwriter based in London. And this episode today is a bit different because I've had the privilege of knowing Sammy for years now. And so I just really wanted to have her on today to talk about her journey as an artist and just kind of like life around that and, you know, living this life where you're still on the grind, on the way to your goals. But I guess the way I always start is, how do you describe yourself in 3 words? Obviously, you can take a second to think about it. I know it's a hard question on the spot.
Yeah, of course. First of all, thank you for having me. I'm very happy to be here today. 3 words to describe me, I would say creative, passionate, and probably kind.
Oh,
Yeah, I like to think of myself kind. Yeah.
that's a really nice one. I feel like I actually haven't had someone say that yet, I don't think.
Really?
Yeah. Which is funny because obviously that's like, we all strive to be kind, right? And so it's nice to like actually identify as that.
I do.
Yeah, good. So I think what I'd love to start with is actually you describing your music and, you know, what it means to you. 'Cause I could sit here and describe your music, but obviously it's best coming from the creator themselves.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, music means everything to me. You've known me for a long time to know that. I think growing up dancing, it was always an outlet for me. So when I started writing for myself, it was mostly as a creative outlet and as a way to process my emotions as well. But to describe my music, I'm definitely still exploring the avenue that I'm going to go down, and I don't want to box myself up this early in my career. But I think it's super soulful and probably quite relatable as well. I think writing about experiences that I've gone through, as many other people do, is something that they can relate to, and that's something that I've fell in love with music from such an early age, by finding artists that were writing things that would make me, I don't know, feel like a little bit healed and stuff.
Yeah.
So I hope that eventually I can be that artist to other people. So yeah, probably soulful, sultry sometimes, and honest as well, probably.
Yeah, and I love the fact that, you know, you do have, I think like you described it like on Spotify as like sensual R&B tones.
Yeah.
And I actually love seeing women like embrace that as well. I think it's so empowering.
Yeah.
And it's so important.
It is. I think that's something I recently have been actually thinking about, because it's a very vulnerable thing to put yourself out there, to write music, and to own that sensual, sexual side of yourself and to write about that. I'm quite, I don't know, it's a bit like nerve-wracking sometimes to think your family are listening to your music, your friends are listening to your music, what are you saying, you know? But I think actually owning that is super empowering. And it's nice to be vulnerable, actually, because it will inspire other people to be, you know, and to embrace that part of yourself. Because as a woman, I think it is really important, even if it's not, you know, showing yourself off in such a way if you don't want to, but just embracing that in yourself. Yeah, I think it's great.
Yeah, no, definitely. I always think of like, I think it was Beyonce was talking about, there's like a song where she kind of
love
frees
Beyonce,
stuff.
don't you?
I literally
You love Beyonce. Yeah.
I'm actually seeing her like this month.
Oh my God, I'm so jealous.
I'm literally so excited. It was so random as well. I was like, I think I was drunk like on a weekend away, and my friends were like, oh, we're going to see Beyonce. I was like, how dare you not have mentioned this to me before?
I know.
Yeah. And so literally me and my other friend were like, we're going to get them right now. And then we woke up the next day like, I think we bought
like in the bank account.
Yeah. I was like, I need to book a day of work. But yeah, I remember she was like freestyling as like kind of like sexual lyrics, and she kind of wanted to let it flow. And after she was like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe my husband and like my mum is going to hear this. But like, yeah, I think it's so important to like reclaim that. And I guess it'd be so nice to actually go back to obviously the beginning. And like you said, I've known you for so long, and like music and I guess like almost like performance and self-expression has always been a big part of you. But when did you have this vision of becoming a singer and like an artist, and like, what was that journey? And, you know, when did you like birth Mantha?
Oh yeah, such a good question. So yeah, as you know, I've grown up dancing, doing performing arts my whole life. I always knew that I would go down that avenue. I just wasn't sure of how it would go, as in originally I really wanted to do West End and I was very into musical theatre and absolutely loved it. And then when I was auditioning for drama schools, I didn't get into my dream dance school, and it definitely crushed me a little bit because that was always the plan for me. So yeah, when I didn't get into that dance school, I decided I was just going to go to LA. I was like, let's just switch it up. I'm off. I'm out of here. If I'm not going to London, let's go to LA. And at that time I was heavily focusing on dance, on hip hop. That's what I trained in. I mean, we went to beat together. Remember, Lula used to dance.
Yeah, I wasn't quite on the same level.
We did sad as well.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
well, right?
I like sometimes joke about that. My friends like, I was actually dancing. On
yeah, we did. Like we did. Yeah, we've been doing it for a while. So yeah, when I decided to go to LA, I was 18. It was in the September of when, well, yourself and all of our friends were going to uni, and I went there and I trained for 3 months. Like 4 or 5 classes a day. I was just banging it out and I loved it. It was such an amazing time. And then when I came back, I just worked and I saved up again, went out the following summer for 2.5 months. And then I think COVID really stopped and put a halt on my creativity because I was no longer in my own space. I had to move back home, which was really hard for me. I did meet my boyfriend in that time, which was beautiful. But when I moved in with his family, again, I didn't have my own space to write music or to dance. And every school that I trained at was obviously in London and nothing was going on in Bournemouth. So I think there was a long time where I actually felt, well, I was very confused. I didn't know what I was going to do. Nobody knew what was happening at that time. But when everything started opening back up again, 2021 summer, I decided I was going to start dancing again. So I was coming up to London, driving up like every weekend, getting the train. And I had this passion just reignite and it was amazing. And then kind of end of 2021, a lot of my friends were booking jobs. They had agents by that time. And I just wasn't quite there. And I had got all these portfolio shoots done and I was really, really trying. And I just felt disheartened and something wasn't sitting right in me to say that this is what I meant to do. So I think I had to really think what I wanted out of dance and what my dream job was. And most dancers' dream job is to do a tour, so a world tour. And obviously that includes being a backup dancer, essentially. That's the job. And that has always been. And then I just started thinking, why not, instead of being the backup dancer, I be the artist? And I had, in that time, I've glossed over this, but during COVID, I was writing a lot of music and putting it on SoundCloud. And I had found a passion for doing that. So I think I reached out to a producer and it kind of just all happened so naturally. I really didn't think anything of it. I didn't think I want to be an artist. I just thought, I've been writing music in my bedroom. Let me try and actually professionally record a song. And I went in and I did it at the end of 2021 and I just fell in love. When I was in the studio, I was like, oh, this is it. Like something just felt so right. And then I just got an absolute itch for it. So I was just working, paying for studio sessions. And then I decided I wanted to move to London to pursue this. So, I mean, that's kind of just the beginning of it before I'd even started releasing music. But then obviously to birth Mantha, I had to kind of decide what artist name I was going to go under. Obviously my name's Samantha. It kind of made the most sense. A lot of people don't ask me why.
Don't link it.
Yeah, they don't link it. I'm like, it's my name. Because obviously I grew up and everyone knew me as Sammy. Yeah. But yeah, Mantha is, I'm still coming to terms, like I was saying earlier to you before we started recording, I'm coming to terms with identifying with that self, because I think it felt like a kind of Hannah Montana thing for a while. It's like this alter ego where in the spaces where I was doing music performances and stuff, that was my name. And I do love her. It's like what's Beyonce's? Sasha Fierce, right? Right, I don't want to say it wrong. Sasha Fierce. It's kind of like that to me a little bit, because when I think about Mantha and in a performing sense, she's so confident, and that is a side of myself that I do really, really love. So I think I'm just like pushing towards that slowly.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And I love that. And I think obviously it's so different, but it's almost like when I went into the working world, and obviously everyone knew me as Lula, and like, it was kind of weird if anyone said Tallulah. Like some people didn't even know that was my name. And I went into the working world and be like, hi, I'm Tallulah Lake. And like, honestly, it was so funny because I went through a period of time where I'd meet new people outside of work and I'd be like, oh my gosh, do I introduce myself as like Lula, Tallulah?
Yeah.
You know, like you kind of, it's nice to have this alter ego because like, you know, when you're having a hard day and you're like, okay, who am I? Like, I'm Tallulah, like embody this.
Find yourself.
Yeah. And like, obviously as a performer, that's so important because you have to be consistent, like show up as this person when you don't feel like it. And it's like in front of crowds of people. And so you almost need this like shield. So it's like, even if like Sammy isn't feeling like confident that day, it's fine because Mantha's in the back waiting.
You know what I mean? She's there somewhere. I just have to like claim her back sometimes.
Yeah.
I think it's really funny because I've been really trying to post on TikTok. As an artist, TikTok is such a love-hate thing because it is so amazing, but I think just the pressure to feel the need to make videos, sometimes it kind of makes you fall out of love with it a bit. But actually, I've met a lot of people, especially at my work where I waitress, and they like recognize me. And when people say, are you Mantha? I kind of am like, no, that's not. Oh wait, yes, I am. Yes, that's me. Like, it's really weird. And I'm still, that's what makes TikTok amazing because I have had people recognize me. I mean, I was at a festival last year. I was at All Points East. No, actually it wasn't. It was at Yusuf Days' festival. And it was at the end of the night, and it was just before he was coming on to do the final act. And I was so buzzing. And this guy just came up to me and he was like, are you Mantha? And that was the first time it ever happened.
That's so cool.
And I was like, yeah, like, sorry. I was like, sorry, have we met before?
Yeah.
You know? And he was like, I love your music. I've been following you for a really long time. And we just had this really beautiful connection. And when Yusuf Days was playing, he's incredible jazz artist. And I just started crying because I was like, oh, this is really magical. I really couldn't believe that somebody had recognized me. And at that time, it was a period of time where I hadn't recorded music in a while. And I was like, oh, what am I doing? I love this thing, but I don't really know where I'm at with it. And it was like a spirit guide just came to me and reinstalled. And literally like 2 weeks after that, I got another session in. And it was just those little reminders that are so important. And that's why support from strangers, whoever it is, friends especially, is so important because it's a reminder of who you are and that you are doing the right thing, because we beat ourselves up so much. So
I think that's so powerful. And I think obviously you spoke a bit about this before, but I actually have a folder on my phone. It's like labeled motivation. It's like when you get like certain messages or like someone says something to you, like it's so important to actually remember that. So like that person coming up to you, obviously you'll have so many low points. And it's like those moments are so important to like give you that boost. Yeah. It's almost like holding on to that and not forgetting those moments. And like, I think something to do with like creativity and when you're putting like music out there, and like we were talking earlier about how, you know, like it can be quite lonely. Like it's really nice to have people around you who are like in it with you, and like obviously in the business sense as well. And we can obviously talk about your managers. But I think like it can be such a lonely thing. And so obviously having people in it could like pick you up, because it's just this relentless thing, like you said before, where like it actually has to come from like within. Like you could stop and like no one's going to be there to be like, no, carry on. And so you have to be so good at like turning your mindset around.
100%.
That's when like journaling, meditation, all that comes in. I know you're like big on that. So yeah. But like, why don't we talk a bit about that? So obviously, like it's been a whole journey for you. It's been like ups and downs. Obviously you've had moments of doubt. You've kind of changed what you like have envisioned for your life. Yeah. Like let's start off with actually saying what you do in those moments to pick yourself back up. And
a lot of self-regulation. Regulating my nervous system is something I have found in the last probably even year mostly, that I just catch myself in the moments of doubt, which we all have in whatever we do in life, or negative talk. And it's like I have this voice in my head, and then I have this other voice that literally is just like, shut up. Like, you're fine. I do a lot of like self-soothing, speaking in my head. And I think a lot of it is how I react to things and how I choose to react, because we all have a choice in how we react to certain situations. And I think growing up, I was probably a lot more reactive in like a really emotional way. I would let things get to me a lot. And now I just catch myself before I get to that point. So journaling plays a big part in it. I just finished The Artist's Way. I don't know if you've heard of it, the book. I've made a couple of posts about it, but yeah, it's a 12-week kind of self-help course by Julia Cameron. She wrote it in the 90s, I think. So it's kind of been adapted a little bit, but part of the tasks that you had to do for those 12 weeks was journal every single morning, first thing, 3 pages, like no excuses. And I did that. And that was something that I didn't know if I'd be able to stick to, because although I'm very disciplined, I can procrastinate things sometimes. So I told myself that I had to do this. If I'm going to do this book, I'm going to do it. And it was just so incredible. I have kind of fallen off it a little bit after completing it, but I think either beginning of the day or end of the day to journal and just to check in with yourself. I think it's really important, because some days we wake up and we don't feel great, and that's absolutely fine. And I think just recognizing that is super important. And yeah, just checking in to see how you feel. And also I think there's such a power in writing down your goals or your dreams. I'm such a believer in manifestation. Basically live my life through manifestation at this point. It means so much to me. And I think just in moments where you might feel anxious or everything's going wrong, if you get yourself in a negative mindset when something goes wrong and you kind of identify with that, things are going to continue to go wrong. And I've learned that through everything that I've read. So if something's going wrong or I'm having a bad day, I'll let myself feel it first. I don't ever ignore a sad or negative emotion as such, but I'll recognize it. And then I literally just in my brain, I'm like, flip it over. Because if you're going to identify with this and say you're triggered or you're sad, then you're going to continue to feel that way. So allow yourself to feel it. And then let's just focus on the good things. And then, hey, they come. They come supernaturally, because that's the energy that you're
putting out.
Living out. I mean, not to get too like Joe Dispenza on it, but it's all about frequency. If you're vibrating at a higher frequency, that's what's going to come to you. So that's I think it's a lot of clocking yourself if you're getting in a negative headspace. And it's not to say I never do, because I actually do a lot, and I think naturally I am quite emotionally reactive to things, and I can be sensitive to things, and it's fine. Just allow yourself to feel it and flip it over if it's getting into like a bad place.
Yeah, I think that's so important, because I think people get caught up in actually when you like reach this level, you should never feel negative, but that's obviously not true.
No,
it's just how quickly you rebound. And yeah, I think everything you're saying is so important. And obviously journaling, I think, is so powerful, and like, not enough people do it. Like especially during COVID, I actually think I changed so much as a person. Like my life changed because obviously we had a bit more time because things are like shut down. And like even now it's so funny, because if I am almost in a spiral, or I could just feel myself like agitated, and I'll like put off journaling, and the second I sit down and journal, it dissipates. Like, literally I feel so much better. And
I beat myself up sometimes. So I'm like, why did I just put this off for so long? I could have stopped this a while ago. You just need a pen and paper and just get it out. It does work. It does.
And like now I do something on a Sunday night. Like every Sunday I sit in bed like before the week ahead, and I like write out an entry, like going back to manifestation, I go write out an entry from like my future self, as in like I'm describing my day in like the day in the life I see myself living in the future. And honestly, I've like been telling people about this because I go to bed so happy. I'm like, this was such a nice day. You go to bed happy, I wake up happier. And then it's so funny how like you sift out things in your life. It's like, okay, well actually if I want to live that life that I just journaled about, then like I won't actually be doing this.
And it helps you figure it out a whole lot quicker. I think that's super important. I do that a lot with even a year ahead. So I'll write it in, what are we now? June? What's the 1st of June? 1st of June 2026. I'll write this today and be like, this is how my day is. This is what my life is like. And I don't read it back. I don't know if you do, but I never read my journal entries back, because I think it's just good to get it out. Maybe from my old books a year ago. It's sometimes really nice to read it back and just see how far you've come in, I don't know, whatever you're journaling about or your mindset. But I think it's actually just a release. Just get it out on paper. It's so important. And I'm still, even though I know it, I still have to remind myself so much in those moments where I do procrastinate it.
Yeah.
And it's just so silly. Why do we procrastinate it? It's
like meditation, everything good for you. Like it's so weird. It's like, but it's like all your like blocks and like, like, I don't know, self-sabotage and all like the programs that you learn. Obviously it's like, oh, but I'm comfortable actually like not striving for these big goals. Like I'll just stay here and journal because otherwise I might actually get there. And that's scary.
I read an amazing book on self-sabotage called Mountain Is You. I don't know if you've read it.
I've heard it, but I haven't read it.
It's so good. And that really, it was kind of like atting me because I was like, oh yeah, I do this. Yeah, I was like, this is me. But even just the way it's written, it's super relatable and just kind of personable. And it's a really good book. I can't remember the author's name, but it's a really good book and I would recommend it. And I want to reread it again because it's all about self-sabotage. It's like you actually just need to get over that. Yeah. It's yourself.
And you're the mountain.
Yeah, you are the mountain.
You're the thing stopping you.
Yeah,
I think we should do like a book list swap because I've also got so many like, and going back to I guess like frequency and like energy. Yeah. Like I've got so many books that are so good in stuff like this, but it's like the science behind it. So people like always like, oh, but like that's just like, what's the word, like woo woo. Yeah. It's like I've actually got so many books that are like scientific. Yeah. Like basis.
Well, Becoming Supernatural is just my favorite book. Have you read it?
Yeah, I've got it on my bookshelf.
Oh my gosh, it's incredible. But I really want to get to a point where I can understand the information enough to tell other people because it is so science-based. I mean, quantum reality, quantum physics, neuroscience, like it's a whole lot. And also I think I've come to realize that not everyone is going to want to learn about it, and that's fine because I sometimes try and spew out the information and people are like, what, you just shut up, like quantum physics, what? And I'm like, okay, that's fine. I believe in it. Well, it's not, it's there, it is real. But yeah, some people aren't open to it and that's okay. But I do want to get to a point where I can be able to regurgitate the information because I literally sit there with a highlighter and I'm like, right, okay, and I have to like write it all out to really understand it. It's a lot of information.
But I'll send you some other books as well. It's kind of linked to it, but actually it's a big learning curve to realize that you want to teach people these things because you know how powerful it is, and like it's almost heartbreaking when they don't want to listen because like, but I know it could help you so much, but you have to let it go. I really want to come back to like, the social media side of things, and also like obviously as an artist that's trying to get out there, and like obviously the key thing is you want people to hear what you're creating, and there's so much to this. I think first I want to start off with what it actually feels like when you are, obviously especially when you first started putting your music out there, like actually getting over that first hurdle, because obviously there's the vulnerability aspect. There's a point when you first start, you're like, oh, what are people going to think? Like, I always think that when you first start creating things, put it out there, you almost separate people in your life between people who are going to support you, people who make you feel embarrassed and don't get it. And, how did you first get over that? And what was that like process like?
I think when I changed my name, my Instagram handle, I remember kind of putting up a story because I felt I needed to explain myself because I hadn't released music at that point. So I thought and I never said, oh, this is why I've changed my name to Mantha and this is going to be music. But I just think I put like, oh, new username alert. And that kind of made me excited. I think I'd hinted a few things. And then when I released my first song, oh my God, I was such an excited puppy. I was so excited. I video journaled a lot of stuff on literally just my MacBook. And it's so sweet to look back on because bless me. I mean, I've always been a dreamer. I still am, but I was like, I'm going to get 10K streams in my first 24 hours. Just didn't happen. And that's fine. But it was amazing. It was a learning curve as well. I mean, I look back to now releasing, I probably would have done it a lot differently. I didn't have a team. I've only recently just got a team for 3 years, just been doing it by myself. I didn't really have any guidance on what to do, how to promote. I kind of released a song and then just let it do nothing. I didn't make enough TikToks. I just didn't really know that was what you were meant to do. So I've learned so much through it. I've learned the power of content is crazy, and branding, where you're putting yourself. So I think looking back from then to now, 3 years on, I'm preparing to release my first single in about 8 months, which I'm so excited for, because I feel like this is the first time I've actually been really prepared for a rollout, because it's quite like the feeling of releasing a single is like a deep breath, genuinely, because so much comes from it. And you really have to just be on your content and be on also believing in yourself.
Yeah.
Like, I think because a lot of my time is on my jobs that I literally do every day, like 7 days a week, I have to take myself out of identifying as a waitress and identifying as working in the NHS. And I'm actually an artist, and this is what I'm trying to pursue or am pursuing. So I think with this next rollout, I'm really just reminding myself and grounding myself that this is me. I am Mantha. I always do a lot of affirmations in the mirror, and I'll just be like, you are an artist. You are an artist. This is what you're doing. Just to remind myself. So I think the rollout is really important. It's definitely, numbers can get tricky, and it's a little bit of mind game where I've definitely learned to stop comparing in any sense. Anything you do in life, comparison is just, it's tough, and you have to, again, catch yourself in the moment when you're doing it. But I don't have crazy numbers whatsoever. One of my songs is on 20,000 streams, which I have to think 2 years ago, I would be like, oh my God. And when you hit that mark, it's like, okay, well, this person's on 100,000 in a week. Like, why am I not there? So I think it's just understanding that you're on your own journey and loving it as well, because I do think that this next song is going to be the start of something really special, my career. So yeah, I just believe in this song so much. I actually recorded it January 2023. So it's been a while.
Yeah.
But I wanted to wait till the right moment to release it. I wanted to wait till I was confident enough to like believe in myself to be promoting it like I need to. And I think I am there now. And I did this really beautiful music video a few weeks ago with some friends, and I'm so excited to release that with it as well, and actually just get the right visuals along with it. Because to answer your question, I think that is the most important part, actually, the visuals. It's very hard as an independent artist to stand out from, I can't remember the statistics, but every Friday, however, hundreds of thousands of songs get released every single day, even.
That's crazy.
To stand out from that as an independent artist with no funding, no management at the time, and not having any visuals with it, what do you expect? It's not going to go anywhere. So there's only so much meditating and manifesting you can do. You do have to put in the work, unfortunately. So yeah, I think it's just knowing that and being really prepared to be on the grind and be on your phone and be posting and putting yourself out there. Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's so exciting now that you do have more of a team to support you. And I mean, I'm really excited for this new music. And I think it's just amazing to actually hear that obviously you recorded it a while ago, and the process behind it. I think people who don't make music probably have no idea everything that happens behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And obviously, I always think it's amazing when you're being creative, because you have to, like, it's not like you can just pump out a song and it'd be really good. Like, you have to actually be in a certain like place, like mindset. You have to actually have that creativity like flowing. And it's not like a normal job where like you can just go to work and, you know, write some emails. Like, you have to be like, you almost have to like feel the flow and then capture it in that moment. And then obviously you get better at finding ways to get into that mindset.
Definitely, yeah.
That doesn't just happen like time.
No, it doesn't. And even when we wrote that song, I think the energy, we did it in 2 days. With most of my songs, I've done them in like a day or 2 days. And I have a feature on the song, my friend Ben, who is incredible, and I'd been a fan of him for the longest time. And he was in the studio with us when we were writing it, and he was helping me write some verses. And then he was kind of humming along to it. We were writing the second verse, and I jokingly just said, oh, you know, you can like hop on a verse if you want. And he was like, really? And I was like, wait, would you be down? And he was like, yeah. I mean, the production is so insane. Ben Stanko produced it, and he's just incredible. And when Ben recorded his verse, I was like, oh, this makes so much sense. And it was a full circle moment, because how I found Ben Stancombe was through Ben Hughes' music, because I was such a fan of him for so long and still am. But it's just cool. I get to call him a friend now and say that we have this song coming out together. It feels like a full circle moment for sure. Yeah. So yeah, I'm just excited for the world to hear it. I mean, obviously, because I wrote it so long ago, I sent it to my friends, like a few friends, when I recorded it. And they have been hounding me for the last 2 years to say, when is the man coming out? And yeah, I'm just super, super excited to release this one. It has just a special energy around it. I think when we recorded it, you could feel that. And I think it actually, you can feel it through the music genuinely. It's just a really beautiful song. So yeah, it's super exciting.
And I actually think it shows how much you care about what you're putting out, and the fact that you did wait all that time until the right moment. And I think it's also really important to hone in on the fact that like it actually is more about your mindset and how you feel personally. Like if you feel confident enough to be promoting it, and it was almost a journey of yourself to get to this point. It wasn't like you were necessarily doing loads more to the track or like the song.
Yeah,
it was actually like working on yourself to get to this.
Yeah, I wanted to do the song justice, and I don't think that before this point I was in a place to want to promote it properly. My biggest fear was with this song was that I would release it and nobody would hear it. That because I just think it's really special and I believe in it so much, and I thought I just wasn't ever in a place where it was reaching the amount of people that I wanted it to reach. And even just through my TikToks, I really think it's gaining more attention than any of my other ones have. Not majorly or significantly, but I don't know, it's something I feel. I can't explain it, but I do really feel that this is going to start my career. But what I was going to say about I think the process of writing a song and putting it out, the easiest part is writing the song, actually. The easiest part is being in the studio for a few days, and that's the funnest part as well, in a sense, just being in the studio with friends and writing it. But when you have to start thinking about the visuals, that personally anyway, this is probably not for everyone, but it's where it just gets harder, because even just finding a team who's going to record it for you, direct it for you, the money you need to fund these things is crazy. And most independent artists don't just come from money to be able to, you know, put $1,000 into a video like every other month to promote a song. So it is hard, but I think I've learned to utilize my friends, because I have a lot of incredibly creative friends. Like my friend Ben Hickman, he's done the photography for my last 2 singles now. And I think it's just having somebody like him on a team that I would continue to use, and also be able to pay somebody that's my friend and like fund their creativity. It makes it like so much more special. Yeah. So I think I'm slowly creating this team as well, because even though I have managers now, I still want to be like very much in control of like who's coming into this little team that I'm trying to pull from and create with. I would also really like to work with more women, which I'm still yet to find, because the team is actually men, which I love them all. But I do really want to work with more women, like in the future too. So it's just finding those people,
more,
like
female power.
That's it.
I think that's lovely, and I think it is so nice when you can like build yourself up while bringing other people up with you and supporting them.
Yeah,
there's so beautiful about that.
Yeah.
And I think something that I can imagine is really hard is when you're writing your songs or like thinking about what you want to put out there, even with videos on social media. Obviously, in order to survive as an artist, you need people to like what you create. But I actually think the worst thing for creativity is when you stop like producing that authentically because you're too worried about what other people want to see.
100%.
And I think this is such like a dichotomy for all creatives, because it's like, you produce the best when, you're like being true to yourself. And that's when like some of the weird, wacky things come out. But actually, that's what people like latch onto. But obviously, the more you kind of grow, I can imagine there's more pressure to please your fans or to like, gain attention in ways that is going to be popular rather than actually authentic to you. It was like, how do you even manage that? And even like, you were saying like the love-hate relationship with TikTok and having to produce videos on that and like kind of taking the fun out of the creative part.
Yeah, definitely. I think through doing the artist way, that's what, and all the books that I've read so far this year, that's what's instilled in me that I need to create for myself. And I think when I look back, I love all the songs I've done, but there are a couple where I did go into the studio and I was like, what sort of song do I want to write? And I didn't write it from a place of anything. I wrote it because, I don't know, I thought it would sound catchy.
Yeah.
And I do love the song. It's not taking it away from it. But moving forward, I don't want to write music for public appeal, to be honest. And I think that's actually quite it's a good thing that I don't have a massive fan base yet, because I'm still small. I want to establish myself as somebody that makes music for me. I'm not actually making it for anyone else. It's a creative outlet for me. And I think I'm really happy that I've come to that understanding at this point before I start gaining any sort of momentum and people expect a certain type of music from me, because this is the issue with a lot of people who think that they can control an artist and they don't like it when they sort of change their sound, when actually they have to remember this is their outlet. And if you don't like their music anymore, that's fine. You just don't have to listen to it.
Yeah.
And they're not doing it for you, actually. And I think coming to that understanding, I'm really grateful that I've come to that now.
Yeah.
Before it gets to a point where I could be influenced by people's opinions. I'm very aware that when I do get to a bigger following and viewing, this is where some negative comments start popping up. And I think when I see them on somebody at the moment who's getting so much stick, Lola Young, she's incredible. And I just think it actually blows my mind that people sit there, comment on her body, comment on her sexuality, comment on literally anything to tear this poor girl apart. And every time I see a comment like that on somebody that I think is so beautiful and so talented, I just remind myself that when that comes, because it will, it's kind of inevitable if you want a form of success, that you just can't listen to these people.
No, exactly.
You just can't listen to them. I just think you're actually, sometimes I think, are you even real? I don't understand how somebody...
How can you be doing that?
I don't, because I don't know anyone in my life personally that would do that.
Yeah.
So it just blows my mind. And I just think like, it must be really, really hard to read that about yourself. I genuinely can't imagine, but I also know it's going to come. So every time I see it, I'm like, I'm imagining somebody's writing about me and I'm just like, okay, just swipe it away.
But you need to remember that in those moments that that people that you think are amazing also have that. So it's like,
that's what I'm saying.
It's got nothing to do with the person.
No,
but like, it's so funny because you also have to think, poor them, like their life is so sad. They have to actually be horrible to other people. And like, it's just a reflection of how they feel in themselves.
Yeah.
And it's that like, I also think even when you, I guess, start doing anything like bold, there are even going to be people that you love, like family and friends, who say things that like bring you down. And it's not even like necessarily always intentional. It's their own insecurities projecting onto you, their own fears.
Yeah.
And so you've just got to see it through that lens, which can be so difficult, especially when they're close to you. But
it can be.
Having being so sure in yourself.
Yeah, I think I've been super lucky with that. My parents have always been so supportive of anything I wanted to do creatively, and so have my friends. I think one thing that's important to touch on is friends' support, because when I first started out, I am somebody that's very kind of, I would say I'm a very supportive friend, as all my friends are too, but maybe I'm a bit more publicly supportive in a sense of like, I'm always want to comment and always share things. So when I started releasing music and maybe some of my friends weren't doing that, I took it very personally, which is something I had to work on, because I had to understand that actually not everybody needs to share your work to show their support. As long as they're kind of saying it to me or showing some love somehow, it's fine. And I see a lot of people talk about this online, and I do think it's important, because just remembering that not everyone is going to support you the same way that you support others. People have different way of showing it. Because I did feel some of my friends maybe weren't doing enough, but actually they were. And I'm glad that I came to that realization, rather than, there is a flip on that if one of your friends is not showing any sort of engagement at all, that's kind of tricky. But just knowing that, keeping an eye out for people who do show you love, which a lot of time is actually strangers.
Yeah.
And noticing those people
you least expect.
It is the people you least expect. And some people show love sometimes. I'm like, oh my God, like I didn't even think you, I don't know, would listen to my stuff. So that's really nice as well.
Yeah. No, it's so true. And I think even my podcast, it's funny because like, for example, I sometimes would think, oh, like surely my friends will listen to it just because it's me. Yeah. Then like something, oh, but I just don't really listen to podcasts. But, okay, like fair enough. At the beginning I was like, oh, like it's me.
Yeah, so I'm so important.
Yeah, like it doesn't matter. You know, like it's my podcast.
Yeah, no, it's
So,
true.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, maybe you felt that as well. It's even when you like created the podcast page and some people maybe weren't like showing love or maybe not following it. It's like, why would you not want to? Which I do think is that if it's a really close friend and they're not like properly showing love, then you actually have to clock them because what are you doing? If it's like a really close friend, because you should be supporting your people for sure. But I think it's just like managing expectations of how much people would go to support you. And I mean, my boyfriend checks me on that all the time because I get super sensitive if somebody doesn't maybe treat me or show up the way that I would. But he's like, everyone is different and people show up for people in different ways. So yeah, just keeping it. Yeah.
So I also want to talk about, and actually it's really funny because I think a theme in my podcast of people I've interviewed before is this theme of like rejection. And, you know, when you're starting out, like, you know, to actually in everyone's success story, there's rejection, like reaching out and putting yourself out there. And, you know, but like, that's like a big thing, isn't it? And I actually think it's a superpower to be able to deal with rejection without taking it personally.
Yeah.
And it's something really interesting you mentioned when we spoke earlier is, you know, when you're reaching out to different producers and, you know, some people wouldn't even reply. Yeah. And obviously that can be really tough and some people would never come back from that. Yeah. You know, like some people would be like, okay, I'm just going to stop now.
Yeah.
So how was that and how did you deal with that and like push through?
Yeah, it's so true. I reached out to 15 or 20 producers at the time when I was looking to work with new producers. And I made a list and I wrote why I was journaling about it. And I was like, why do I want to work with this person? What music have they written or worked on that I really love? And I really like handcrafted each email to, I love this song that you produced. And I sent them loads of demos. And basically one person replied. And at first, because I didn't hear back from anyone for a couple of weeks, and as I had sent them out, I was really like meditating and I was like, oh, they're all going to come back. And when they didn't, I was like, what am I doing wrong? I was like, maybe this isn't for me. It was one of those moments where I was like, oh, maybe I just shouldn't be doing this. And then my producer now, Aston, replied, and it was just so beautiful because one of the demos that I'd sent all of them, I didn't realize that Aston had produced it. So when he came back and he told me that, I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. And it was just the perfect fit. And then as soon as, I mean, working with a new producer, anyone, a writer in a studio, it's a very like vulnerable thing to start writing about things that you're going through. And I'm so big on energy. I feel it a lot. And if a person isn't matching yours, it doesn't mean that they're like wrong or bad, but if you're not on the same frequency or anything, it's not naturally going to be a good environment to create in. Yeah. So when I walked in and he had like Palo Santo burning and incense and like I was like, oh yeah, this is the vibe. And he's just like a big brother now, and it's just amazing. And I feel super grateful to get to work with him because I followed him for such a long time, and now that I can say I get to work with him is super special. So I think actually, even though for a long period of time where I wasn't writing music and I thought I'd never be able to work with another producer again, now it just makes sense. And I'm like, oh, okay, I had to go through that to have that time to just figure myself out a bit and know that the next time I do have the opportunity to go into a studio, I am really intentional with it and I go in with an idea. And I mean, I haven't had a session in a few months because I've not really had anything inspiring me to write about. And I know that I've done it before where I've gone into a session and they're like, right, what are we doing? And I'm like, I don't know. Yeah. And it's kind of like wasting my time, a little bit wasting their time. And you can't force creativity. So I learned that there's a lot of change coming up in my life. And I know that it's going to birth a whole lot of ideas. And I'm super excited for it. But I'm just going to wait till then. I don't want to book in a session tomorrow. And it's not coming naturally to me right now. So yeah, I think I'm just intentional with when I book those sessions in, but I do know that over the next few months there's going to be a whole lot of things to write about. So I'm very excited.
And do you want to talk a bit about what you've got coming over the next few months?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously my song coming out, I'm really excited about. It's going to be released on the 19th of June, which will probably be out by the time this is out.
We should time it.
Yeah, we should. But yeah, so I've got that coming up, and then I am leaving my flat that I'm living in with my boyfriend at the beginning of July. So I've lived there for 3 years and he's moving to New York. So it's going to be a whole big change with that. We've been together for 5.5 years, so which is so crazy.
Yeah, that's so crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah, I think just doing long distance for the first time, that's going to be a lot to navigate through. But also, I'm going to go out to see him. I'm going out to LA. There's so much change, and I don't really know. After September, I genuinely don't know what my life is going to look like. But where even a year ago I would have run from that, I'm just fully like leaping into this. Yeah. I saw this this picture on Pinterest, and it's like this black hole and this figure kind of like leaning into it, and I genuinely think that's how I envision this next 6 months, because it is going into the unknown, and I'm so excited. Yeah. I don't know what it's going to entail, but one of the first parts of The Artist's Way that I read by Julia Cameron, in the first section, there was this quote that's just like been embedded in me since I read it. And she said, leap and the net will appear. And it's kind of that thing of just trusting that once you take that step into something different and something scary and something unknown, there is going to be this safety net of something really beautiful. It's just going to lift you up and propel you. So that's just, I can see it in my mind, and I know all these things that I'm going to achieve. I just don't quite know how I'm getting there yet. But what I've learned through Joe Dispenza and everything I've read on is that you can't question how, you just have to trust that it's going to happen. Yeah. So I'm very much doing that, but it's the first time in my life that I'm actually putting it into practice, because I've known this for so long, but I'm a homebody. I love being in my safe space. And now it's like, I'm actively choosing to rip myself away from that, crazy, and put myself in this unknown situation. And I'm so excited.
Yeah. I'm so excited for you. And I think in all the literature about like manifesting and like law of attraction, it is like, you can't create anything new or invite new things into your life if you know what's like, if you're in your rhythm, like you have to be in the unknown to let things come in. And I always love this quote. It's like, to create a different life, you have to do something different. Like you can't achieve
Which seems
something.
So simple.
Exactly, but why don't we live it?
We don't live it. We don't live it a lot, because I think as humans, we like our comforts and we like, I don't know, our safe spaces. Me especially, I'm such a homebody. But for the first time ever, I'm just so excited to just take the leap.
Yeah. And this actually might sound really funny, and it might seem like that I remember this, but obviously I knew you when we were like super young, like just little teenage girls, like navigating the world. And I did always feel as though you had this like deep confidence in yourself and your ability. And so I do like, you know, and I always thought you as a creative would make it if anyone would, because you like lead with like, you have like this underlying belief in yourself though, which I think is so powerful. And obviously you can have doubt, but yeah, I don't know, you just give off this energy. And I remember you saying that your dad once did an exercise with you where like he had this plank of wood and he made you like punch through it.
Yeah. How do you remember
that? Like it's actually always stuck with me. So I thought like that is just so good to have like a father figure who taught you such an important lesson.
Yeah.
And so maybe like if you want to talk about that and kind of what you think through your childhood has kind of helped you have this confidence now to take this leap and to, I guess, go into this world that takes a lot of self-discipline and confidence.
Yeah. I mean, as a young child, like before I knew you, when I was at primary school, I was actually so shy. I was very timid and always felt really confused, like what the world was about, like what was going on. And I remember my dad always used to do this thing to me when he dropped me off at school. He'd always like beep the horn and like look at me as I was walking away, and he'd just like hold up a C for confidence. And he'd always just be like, and one of my teachers at school, she was called Mrs. Breeze in year 5. She was just amazing. And I think she really saw that I was quite timid, but also that I had this like natural leadership, I don't know, within me somewhere, but it kind of, I needed a little bit of a nudge to like come out. And I think, I mean, one of my earliest memories of achieving something, which seems so insignificant now, but it was really significant at the time, was I was head girl at my primary school. It was a big deal. And I remember I was going up and I was shaking. I remember just like seeing my dad like in the audience when I like went up on stage when they announced it. And he just looked so proud. And I think like it was definitely my parents that instilled that I can do. They always said to me, you can do whatever you want to do. They never cared. And I am aware how privileged I am for that, because I think a lot of people who have or want to be creatives, they might not have that support from their parents. And it wasn't necessarily financial support of funding everything, but just verbal support and emotional support was super important. So I think, yeah, as I started doing musical theatre and dance and doing shows, that's probably where I gained my confidence, because I never really wanted to be the center of attention. But when I was playing a role or being on a stage, it was like I had a mask on and it wasn't me. I was shining through. And I think even when you say about having this alter ego of Mantha, it's kind of the same thing that I used to do as a kid, but I'm now kind of just, I don't know, bringing the two together, and I'm noticing that
Hannah
it's
style.
Hannah Montana style, right? And it is me. But yeah, I think through school and just finding passions and finding more things about myself, I became more confident. But even throughout teenage years, I really fell in love with meditation and spirituality. And I mean, when I went to LA the first year, 2018, I was practicing Buddhism a lot, and I still love Buddhism so much. And I think when I go out again this year, I'll probably go back into it. And it's that really grounded me a lot. And that's kind of where I learned to listen to my voice and just, put myself in spaces that I felt loved in and appreciated in. And owing that to myself. So I've gone on a bit of a tangent there, but I think from a timid young child to where I am now, it's been so much self-work, but that was really birthed from my parents and through doing musical theatre that kind of gave me like little nudges of encouragement here and there. I
think it's so nice to hear that's been a journey though, and like you can work on it, and it's so powerful because I think I interviewed David Kanitiahulu in another episode, and he's achieved amazing things, and he spoke about how his dad would literally say to him like, you can do anything you put mind to, like had this like poem that he'd recite to him. And like in a similar way, like my dad would always say to me like, you know, you're a fierce lioness, you can do anything.
I love that.
And like you said, even if like, you know, you don't get the support financially, I think actually embedding a belief like that into someone is absolutely priceless. Like you can't get something more valuable than that, like,
and
belief.
I would much rather it that way, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we were saying this earlier, even though some of my friends look at me working 2 jobs like, oh, you're working yourself to the ground. But actually I thrive off it because I know that when I get to the point where I can quit my jobs, which is another thing I'm so excited. Oh my God. Worked that job for 4 years, I'm ready to leave. But at that point, it's going to make it so worth it when I get to a place where I don't have to work those jobs anymore. And I'm just, I'm very excited for it.
Oh, it can be such a relief.
Yeah, literally, I'm like, oh, free.
And I do want to go back to, I guess, us when we were a bit younger and like obviously in teenage years, and, you know, we kind of watched each other navigate the world of, I guess, like as a woman thinking about your appearance, like your body. And then obviously you're talking about Lola Young and like people commenting on her body and her appearance. And I think something that is really hard for a female artist is that it's almost so linked to your appearance. Like you probably have so much pressure to look a certain way to also gain popularity, which is so unfair. It's not
It's messed up.
Yeah,
it is.
And so, I guess I just want to talk to you about that and how you feel about that and what your experience with that is.
Yeah, I think I've come a long way with that. And you have to be very prepared when you become an artist. Not everyone, actually. Some people go into it faceless. Actually, I know this amazing artist called Adeja, and it was kind of like her back in the day. I don't know, did you ever listen to her? H-E-R.
Yeah.
So she didn't show her face for years. And this artist I know called Adeja does the same thing, and I actually respect it so much. And maybe I could have done that, but anyway, here we are. Everyone knows who I am. But I think that I used to be a lot more nervous than I am now. I think I just honestly don't care as much. I think it's just people are gonna, like I said with Lola, for example, people are going to comment. You could be the prettiest person in the world, and somebody's gonna say you're ugly, which is just crazy. So I think obviously growing up as teenagers, there's so much as a girl that you go through, and learning to love your body when maybe you hated it at a point. And I really do like love myself now, and it's come through a lot of affirmations and self-talk and reparenting myself a lot and rewiring the way that I think about things and myself and my appearance. And I think just taking the pressure off my appearance actually, because it shouldn't be about that. It should be about the music first off, and how it's making people feel and how people are relating to it. Obviously, if that naturally comes. I mean, a couple of years ago, I dealt with really bad acne, like really bad. And that really threw me. I think that was like, since teenage years, the darkest time in my life. I didn't want to leave the house. I didn't want to do anything. And it was really hard. And I think actually, regardless of all the medications and the skincare products, the thing that healed me the most was actually self-love, which sounds a bit corny, but it's actually really true. Because I used to look at myself in the mirror every day and just like beat myself to the ground. And just, self-image is a really, it's important. And we all look ourselves every day in the mirror and how we, put ourselves out there. And when you're an artist, you do have to be in front of the camera a lot. So I think it's just coming to terms with, this is me. And when we're younger, we might want to have that person's features and that person's hair and whatever it is. But this is me. Love yourself. Somebody else is looking at me like, oh, I wish I had this, just the same way I'm looking at them for something else. So I think it goes back to a deep, deep self-love and appreciation. And I'm so blessed in so many ways. So this is the life I've been given. I need to utilize it and love myself as I am. It really is the most important thing.
Yeah. And it was so interesting because I was on a hen do last weekend with like some really beautiful girls, like so amazing, like inside and out, like really kind, intelligent women, beautiful. And you could still see they all had their own insecurity. And I was thinking,
everybody does.
Yeah, it's like, I literally look at you and think you're like perfection and you're still unhappy. So it's like, oh, why even punish myself or think about that? Because I could look completely different and still have the same insecurities. Like it's completely irrelevant to how you look. It is everything to do with how you see yourself. And
also about your soul as well. I think it really shines through way more than anything else. People say this a lot, but when you meet someone, I don't remember what they look like all the time. I remember how they make me feel and the interaction I had with them, which is never about how they look. It's about their personality and their heart. And I think that shines through so much more than anything physically.
Yeah, there's nothing more beautiful than someone who is comfortable in themselves and like literally how they look is irrelevant. But you know when someone like walks into a room is like magnetic, you're like, oh my God, they're like amazing. Yeah. And literally they could look like any type of way, but the beauty comes from that. And I always remember this clip, and I can't remember what it's from. It might have been from, I don't even know, but I probably just saw it on like an Instagram reel. But basically someone was saying, you know, if someone said something to you in a different language and you didn't understand it, like it literally wouldn't mean anything to you. Like they could be insulting you, they could say the most horrible things. You literally wouldn't know. You would go about your day, you wouldn't even like think about it. Yeah. And so it's only like the meaning we put on those words. And so, you know, when someone says something to you and it's hit an insecurity, like it's hit a nerve, so then it really affects you. But say someone said to me like, oh, like you're so short. Like, well, okay. Like it wouldn't bother me because I don't have an insecurity about that. And so it's like if you fall in love with yourself and you're really like self-aware and you love yourself, people can say anything and it would just roll off. Right. Because it's not hitting an insecurity.
Absolutely. It's so that's why self-talk is so important. And self-love is so important because it should get to that point where somebody could say anything and it doesn't hit that nerve because you love yourself that much that I don't care what you think. Yeah. You can say that if you want. Like it's not going to trigger anything.
No, exactly. Yeah. And I would also just love to talk about, you did mention in like, I watched some of your like vlogs, obviously you do some YouTube vlogs. And you mentioned, I'm not sure how recent it was now, but you had like this moment where you felt really anxious and like, oh, like what am I doing with my life? And
get that quite a lot. Yeah.
Like how does that come about? And you know, I think when you are, I guess, on this journey, and again, you're kind of like self-employed, right? In the sense that you have like other jobs that you work, but obviously in the creative space, it's almost like you're doing this for yourself. Yeah. And you only get paid if you're like putting stuff out there and like you could obviously stop and then nothing comes in. Yeah. Like how do you deal with that anxiety? And is that something you've always struggled with? And, you know, what are those periods like?
Yeah, I mean, to be so real, I've never made money from music. Not made, maybe, being so transparent, maybe £150. I'm not even joking. And the amount of money you put into it, it's like crazy. But I think it's about trusting in yourself that you're going to get somewhere. And also no one in their right mind would go into music if they want to make money because it's a fickle business. It's a fickle business and there is really no money in music. You do it because you love it. But I think that's why I try and I'm thinking about what I want to do and not what's going to make me money, but actually what I can make money from that I have interest in, which actually is YouTube. And I started doing YouTube last year, and I just started kind of making some vlogs, but I've got a lot of stuff happening this year, and I think just documenting it and for people to find me at that point, and whether they find YouTube through music or vice versa, it goes hand in hand. And I really want people to be able to follow this journey from now, because I love watching interviews of artists, and I always want to know their come up.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are always speaking about, oh, well, my manager this or my label that. But I was like, no, but how did you get that? How did you find a manager? Like, you know, all this stuff. And I think now that I am in that position, I want people to be able to follow it for where I'm going to be in the next 5 years, and for that to all be documented. And I think I was saying this to you earlier, but for a really long time, I felt that I had to be Mantha, this mysterious artist, and not really share anything about myself apart from the music. But that's just not me. I'm not mysterious like that. I'm really not. Mysterious. I'm not mysterious. I'm not mysterious. So I think, being able to show that other side, and also that I don't just have to identify with being an artist. Like, I have recently just really been into yoga, for example, and I'm going to do a yoga teacher training course. Not to say that I'm going to become a teacher, but it's something that I want to do for myself. And with that, I've got a lot of travel planned, and I want to be able to do that. I think for a long time, I felt like I had to stay in London because this is where the producers are. But that doesn't always fuel my soul. London is amazing, but it can also be quite suffocating sometimes. And I think the times where I felt my heart's like open to the fullest is visiting different cultures, meeting new people, traveling. That's what actually really ignites me, and I meet people that inspire me to write more music. So it just goes hand in hand. I've kind of forgotten your original question now, but I'm just really interested. I was just going on, but I know it was about anxiety with like money and stuff. But yeah, I think when I first moved to London, I really thought I was going to quit my job and just like do music. And obviously reality hit me pretty quick. So that's why I've kept the 2 jobs. I've always worked 2 jobs since I've lived in London. And like I said, I'm really happy to do that because it makes me feel financially stable, and it allows me to pay for sessions and to pay for the music videos and whatever it may be artistically. So I don't really have that many anxieties around money. I've definitely built a really good relationship with now. That came when I read The Secret, actually. I read The Secret at the beginning of last year, and that book changed everything for me, actually. When I read that book, I was in a really bad place, like financially, and just really comparing myself to all my friends who had these big corporate jobs, and every time I'd see them, they'd talk about their pay rise and whatever it may be. And although I was so happy for them, I couldn't help but be like, oh God, it wasn't anxiety. It wasn't even a jealousy. It was like an anxiety, because it's like everyone around me is telling me these figures and like booking these incredible trips. And I'm like, I'm just trying to get through the week genuinely. And I think it took for me to read The Secret to learn the power of thought, actually, and how you identify with yourself. And I was identifying as broke. So I was continuing to say broke. And once I flipped that mindset, it really just changed everything. And I was finding these other kind of avenues of income. I mean, obviously I had to put myself out there to get another job, but I actually really enjoy it. Hospitality is definitely hard sometimes, but as a whole, it's been a really like fun time of life. And I think just having also, I really like working. Like, I really like working hard, and I'm not actually at a place yet where I can afford to be in a studio every day and work in that way. So why not put my time and energy into something that's going to make me money so that I can do that in the future? That's kind of where I'm at the moment. Yeah.
And we were talking about this earlier, like this temporary like journey, you know, time in your life where you're working towards something. Yeah. And actually having to fall in love with that.
Yeah.
You know, like,
yeah, because there's no point, even though if I'm saying I'm doing this for, I mean, when I got the waitressing job, it was November. So it would have been probably about 10 months by the time that I kind of leave London. And I knew that it wasn't going to be a forever thing. And I wasn't going to tell myself, oh, the next 10 months is going to be such a long grind and I'm going to hate every moment of it, because otherwise I would have. So I'm actually just really learning to love it. I'm very lucky that I work in such a fun place, and it's like I work with my friends and we're like a little family, but I definitely seeked that out for myself because I knew if I was going to get a waitressing job, I wanted to do it in a place that I really enjoyed, and it's obviously a place that plays jazz music, and it's something I wasn't going to work anywhere that wasn't going to fuel me in some way. So I definitely seeked that out for myself, which I'm happy I did it. I have no regrets with that at all.
I think that's hard. I think we can, once you get into a trap of like, oh, I don't want to be doing this, like as soon as you get into that mindset, you then create that, like, it goes back to like attracting that energy.
Yeah.
And I see even like in the corporate world, you sit next to people and they're, I just hate work. Like, I can't wait for the weekend. It's like, you're always going to feel like that. Yeah. And like, you have to actually, like, I love these people who are like, okay, I get to do this. It's like, okay, I get to go to the gym. I get to go to work. Like, rather than, I have to go to work. Yeah. Like, no, I actually get to. There's people who actually don't have a job who aren't getting paid, and like there's obviously like positives in everything, and like trying to seek that out.
Don't get me wrong, some days I do wake up,
you're like, oh,
like what today, but as soon as I say it out loud, like if I'm maybe complaining to my boyfriend or something, I actually immediately I just check myself now and I'm like, hey, shut up. I'm so grateful that I have a job. Like you said, some people can't even get a job, some people can't. This is like a dream for them to be able to work, even to have 2 jobs. I'm so like blessed, and like it's not easy by any means, but it's a blessing, like just to live this life that I have and to have everything. That I live in London. Yeah, like I have to really recognize that the life that I'm living is the life that I dreamt about like 3 years ago. Like I live in the capital city, like everything around me is everything that I manifested for myself when I was a kid. So it's like recognizing that
and remembering that.
Yeah, literally, it's so important.
Yeah,
gratitude, bottom line, the most important thing, because if you're grateful, it's like it multiplies. The universe, whatever it is you believe in, it's gonna give you more things to be grateful for. So I mean, I practice it every day, and everything. And I think this year, from doing the artist way and everything that I've looked into, I'm leading my life with intention in every single sense. Like being here now, just being really present. When I'm eating now, sometimes I just would just eat, and if you're watching TV or not even thinking what you're doing, it's like actually being really intentional and showing gratitude for the food that you're eating. And just when I go to bed every single night, I go to sleep thanking myself for the day, thanking the universe for giving me another day, and also just telling myself tomorrow is going to be so amazing. I do that every single night when before I fall asleep, because when you're in that like REM kind of state, you go into this, I can't remember what it is. I'm learning this in Becoming Supernatural. When he speaks about alpha and beta delta waves, still trying to understand it. But that's like the most powerful time.
Exactly.
So if you go to sleep with anxiety, telling yourself that tomorrow everything's going to go wrong, best believe tomorrow is going to go wrong. Yeah. So
and your brain is working away while you're sleeping. Yeah. It's like, why not spend that time? Like, it's like free work. As in, like, your brain is going to be like doing stuff. You may as well put some like fun ideas in your head or receiving.
Yeah, exactly.
So I do think that whenever I like lean more into practicing gratitude, I can be like walking home from work over London Bridge, and I'll have like this feeling of just like, when your heart just feels really full. Yeah. And like you feel so happy. And it's like every time I practice gratitude, I just get random moments like that. And like your life feels so different.
It does. Yeah.
I guess I literally don't even know how long we've been talking for. I feel like I could literally talk to you forever.
Yeah, I know.
But I would love to kind of finish up like when you are envisioning your future, like where do you see Mantha going? Like what is like the picture you have in your head? Where like who is Mantha going to be in like 5 years time?
That's a good question. And also when I do think about it a lot, it's nothing that I see like I can't see a really clear picture, to be really honest. I just know that I'm going to be making music and doing something creative, whether that's creating content, traveling, writing, recording, performing full time. That I just want to be able to live a life successfully that's not fame. I genuinely am kind of scared of fame. I'm kind of scared of fame, but success is something I really strive. I want to live a life that is just fueled by creativity and love and passion and friends. I definitely have certain goals I want to reach, but I don't really put that out like specifically. Evil eye and all that. But there's definitely things I want to achieve, but traveling is included in that. I would obviously love to release an album within the next 5 years, and probably multiple projects before then, and really collaborate with artists. That's what I'd love to really focus on in the next few years, and just establishing myself as somebody in the UK R&B scene, which I think I am slowly doing and slowly coming back to in a confident sense, because I see so many of my peers around me, achieving amazing things. And instead of looking at it in a way that, oh, they're doing that and I'm not, it's giving me fuel and inspiring me. And again, that's like flipping the mindset. So I feel really grateful to be in the scene and for people to recognize me as well. I think I have to recognize that in myself, that people are watching me even when I feel like nobody cares. People actually do. So for the next 5 years, I think it's just going to be a lot of music and a lot of travel, and just a lot of fun. I'm super excited. I don't know exactly what it's going to look like, to answer your question, but certain goals I know that I'll achieve.
Creative freedom, just a life where you can like lean into your passion.
Yeah, and hopefully inspire. I think with all the knowledge and everything we speak about, I would just love to be able to share that with people. And not that I'm doing anything like crazy and inspiring, or maybe some people think it is, but I want people in whatever sector in life that they're going down to just be really confident, because that's something, like we said, my dad just instilled in me as a child, and I had to really work through. And I want to be able to show people they can do whatever they want to do. I think whenever I see people when they say that they have this dream but they're too scared to do it, it actually breaks my heart. And I'm like, I just want to shake them and be like, you can do it. Like you can do anything you set your mind to. And I think that's the message I'd love to be able to give people, and hopefully they can find through my music and everything that I do over the next few years. That would be really great.
And that's why I love like the whole Central Tones, because it's like embodying that confidence sometimes that we lack.
Yeah,
and
it is.
Yeah, I feel like my biggest fear is like wasted potential. Like myself and other people, it's like you have this dream. It's just like lean into it.
Go. Leap in the level of the pit. Literally,
I think the final question I want to finish on is, I normally ask about like a book, but obviously you've spoken about loads of books. But I'm thinking of like little Sammy and Lula, like 11 years old when we first met. And like, what advice would you give to like that?
Oh, God. It's actually crazy. I would just say, I feel like we both dealt through things like as teenagers that we like worked through together, obviously. But I think just, what would I say? There's so many things I would say. I'd give them a hug. I'd give them a hug, first of all. And probably just say everything I just said, that you can just do anything that you want to do. Because I think both of us were quite shy when we were younger, right? Like we had like a certain confidence in certain situations, but we weren't the loudest person in the room ever. So I think, probably just instilling that in us, and just to say, just work hard actually, because that's the main thing. Work hard, and anything you want to do will come, and it will just pay off, and you're amazing.
We do like give them a hug, like they're just so cute. And the little pictures of us in our like denim shorts.
I know. I don't know if they're cute. I think like 11, 12, cute, 13, 14, we're going through a phase.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been so nice.
Thank you for having me on. Thank you. This has been so full circle. The fact that we haven't seen each other in so long, and just to be here, and I'm so proud of you. I really am so proud of you for doing this.
I feel like I've been like watching you from afar, and like when I was doing this book, I was like, oh, I have to have her on just because like I want you to like, I guess, promote what you're doing, and also I just know that like your mindset's amazing, and like to share that. So
I appreciate that.
I'm so excited.
Thank you, babe. Thank you. Yay.